Okay, so the second part, before I begin the second part, it has three bullet points, and the bullet point simply says as Timothy grows up, he becomes less friendly and rather dangerous. Grandfather decides to transfer him to the zoo. 6 months later, grandfather pays Timothy a visit. Timothy is happy to see grandfather, or is he? Question mark. Now, definitely, the second part of the third bullet trying to state, not second part, third part. Third part of the third bullet trying to present an alternate view. Was he really happy, or was he very violent, or was he really angry? Right? What do you think? No, I'm asking, am I interpreting the or is he correctly or not? I'm not asking the answer. I'm asking the meaning of or is he, the way I told you that it is presenting a opposite view of happy to see grandfather. What do you think? Now you answer. Right? Yes. So yeah, so let us find together what happens actually. Why does he all of a sudden started behaving differently? Why no more friendliness is seen in him? One of these days, declared grandmother in her prophetic manner, we are going to find Timothy sitting on Mahmoud's bed and no sign of the cook except his clothes and shoes. Okay. Of course, it never came to that, but when Timothy was about 6 months old, a change came over him. He grew steadily less friendly. When out for a walk with me, he would try to steal away to stalk a cat or someone's pet dog. Sometimes at night, we would hear frenzied cackling from the poultry house, and in the morning, there would be feathers lying all over the veranda. Timothy had to be chained up more often. And finally, when he began to stalk Mahmoud after about the house with what looked like villainous intent, grandfather decided it was time to transfer him to a zoo. Are you getting the vibration? What Timothy was becoming? He was actually displaying the true trait of a tiger, right? He was growing up, and a tiger can never remain a friend. Come on, we have never seen so far. No researchers, right? So naturally, he was acting natural now. Started acting natural now. So definitely, people have to look for their life. Reserving a first class compartment for himself and Timothy, no one would share a compartment with them. Grandfather took him to Lucknow, where the zoo authorities were only too glad to receive as a gift a well fed and fairly civilized tiger. About 6 months later, when my grandparents were visiting relatives in Lucknow, grandfather took the opportunity of calling at the zoo to see how Timothy was getting on. Okay. I was not there to accompany him, but I heard all about it when I returned to Dehra. Arriving at the zoo, grandfather made straight for the particular cage in which Timothy had been interned. The tiger was there, crouched in a corner, full grown and with a magnificent striped coat. "Hello, Timothy," said grandfather and put his arm through the bars of the cage. The tiger approached the bars and allowed grandfather to put both hands around his head. Grandfather stroked the tiger's forehead and tickled his ears, and whenever he growled, smacked him across the mouth, which was his old way of keeping him quiet. So, frenzied here stands for loud and frantic. Cackling is a noise word made by hens. Villainous intent, wicked and dangerous plan or idea. Intern means kept. Smacked means hit lightly. Look at the illustration. It clearly depicts the picture which has been described in the above paragraph, right? Now, he licked grandfather's hands and only sprang away when a leopard in the next cage gnawed at him. Grandfather shooed the leopard away, and the tiger returned to lick his hands. But every now and then the leopard would rush at the bars and he would slink back to his corner. Are you able to get what is happening in the picture?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
A number of people had gathered to watch the correct. A number of people had gathered to watch the reunion when a keeper pushed his way through the crowd and asked grandfather what he was doing. I'm talking to Timothy, said grandfather. Weren't you here when I gave him to the zoo 6 months ago? I haven't been here very long, said the surprised keeper. So the keeper actually was very much surprised and he wanted to make sure to this man that what he was doing with such a grown up tiger. So he got an answer, right? And it is found that the keeper was also quite new to the place, to the zoo. Why don't you put him somewhere else? No. The keeper said, please continue your conversation. But I have never been able to touch him myself. He's always very bad tempered. Why don't you put him somewhere else? Suggested grandfather. That leopard keeps frightening him. I'll go and see the superintendent about it. Grandfather went in search of the superintendent of the zoo but found that he had gone home early. And so, after wandering about the zoo for a while returning to Timothy's cage to say goodbye, it was beginning to get dark. He had been stroking and slapping Timothy for about 5 minutes when he found another keeper observing him with some alarm. Grandfather recognized him as the keeper who had been there when Timothy had first come to the zoo. You remember me, said grandfather. Now, why don't you transfer Timothy to another cage away from this stupid leopard? But, sir, stammered the keeper, it is not your tiger. I know. I realize he is no longer mine, but you might at least take a suggestion or two from me. So, children, I'm keeping it close till here. I will take up more in my next lecture. Hope the story is very much easily comprehensible to you. So, so we shall continue the discussion in my next. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.